I love to work in the communities very much. So I'm a servant leader.
Nice. You should also say you're a senior leader in the country. You are the former leader of opposition.
Yes,
it's not
leader.
an easy post.
And I have been very, very active in peace building, including encouraging us to go and have peace talk in South Sudan. That is the Juba peace talk. At least I was one of the people who kept on saying, let's talk. Even if we think it's difficult, but it's better to talk. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Francis.
Thank you, Raymond. And I want to thank both of you with Konrad-Adenauer-Stiftung for putting this together. My name is Francis Gimara. I come from Omoro district, and I am an advocate. I practice law essentially. I head the Africa Law Practice Group East Africa. I supervise our offices in South Sudan, Uganda, Tanzania, and Nairobi. Beyond the law, I'm also a passionate recreational runner. So we ran the Gulu City Marathon as part of encouraging communities to embrace healthy lifestyles by running, but also through this we are networking with many Ugandans, forging an identity of creating a nation. So many Ugandans are here for the very first time, and we thought that yes, Gulu can offer them that. So I chair the steering committee of the Gulu City Marathon and a company called the Great North Run Company Limited. And I'm a passionate Ugandan. I think that's all for now. Thank you.
You should also add you're a past president of the ULS.
Yes.
Which people must know.
Raymond, past leaders are not very regarded in this country, so I don't like to introduce myself in those terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yes, I had a very, very rare opportunity of serving Uganda Law Society as president 2016 to 2018. But yes, I also at the moment chair the the PPDA Appeals Tribunal. I lead that, and done 7 years and one more to go.
Oh, that's good. Michael.
Thank you. My name is Michael Ojok. I live and work here in Gulu. I serve young people through #Gulu. I'm a Rotarian. I am a father. I also come from Omoro, a place called Kocho PD.
Okay.
And I'm happy to share the studio with very distinguished guests this evening and share the young people's perspective when we talk about identity, which again in my line of work has come up over and over again for many young people who have questions about themselves as they grow up. People who, if you're to ask, even in the tent outside, cannot tell you what their clans are or where their villages are or who their fathers are. So that's the kind of young people that I have been working with for the past 10 years or so.
What does Kochopili mean?
Kochopili is a village now in Omoro, previously in Gulu. Yeah.
But what does it translate into? If you had to explain it to an English audience, what does it mean?
Koch. maybe.
It's just
just a name.
Clan name, and it has become also a place.
But also Koch is one of those places that confuses people a lot, because if you start driving from here towards Anaka, you will literally reach over 10 different Kochs. Koch Kweyo, Koch Opidi, Koch Ongako, Koch Lee, Koch Ama, so on and so forth. So people usually find it very difficult to understand what is this if you're the kind of a person who is not, connected to your roots. So it confuses a lot. But yes, where I come from is tucked in between all of those Koch.
All right. Betty, maybe I want to start with you. And the question I want to ask is, most of Uganda, particularly the southern part of Uganda, civil war ended on or about 1986. But civil war here continued all the way into the 2000s. As a result, there's been these disparities. First of all, there's a disparity in understanding the region itself. But like we are stating, even in this room, that people have been moved around a lot, that they don't have a sense of identity. What would you say currently is the grounding sense of identity in the region?
Well, it's still a very big challenge here. We have the cultural leaders, and we have in Acholi sub-region only we have up to 57 different leaders who should be vigilant on the ground to let people understand and know the importance of their root or family trees, where they come from. Maybe it's just time. What I know is when the war ended, almost every civil organization, civil society decided to collect their things and move off, that there was already peace, not knowing that a lot was yet left to be done. And so up to now, we have not moved far. We are grappling with that. And you know, a society which does not understand their cultural roots is not a very easy society. So we just keep hanging. We are not anchored. The cultural settings and roots actually anchor people into their society. So I think the war took too long. In some other places, like you cited the south, in Luero, it took about 5 years only. But I think up to now, they still also have some challenges. It should have taken them about 15 years to come back to term with what used to exist. And for us here, it took slightly, I think about 21 years. So we cannot yet also think that we should have already been there back to the original. But even beside, things change as years move. So with that mixed grill, so that, do we say identity, cultural identity, is becoming more and more of a challenge. I've talked to especially our people who came back, who were in the bush, who came back from the bush. They still grapple with those challenges a lot, because when they try to identify themselves, they are sign of sometimes they're stigmatized, they're traumatized. People do not accept them very easily. And so that is mainly the work of our cultural leaders. Even when I talk about 57 different cultural leaders, they also have structure. Yes, they have structure. So they have all lines of people going down there. So it could be also the problem of resources to support them to go down to try and address that. But also, there is no more, is it evening fireplace, which used to be of great help. We have lost a lot in those. Storytelling, I was properly nurtured by my grandmother, not going to nursery school. But my grandmother used to tell us stories. Is it things of the wise, coach quality? That is, I don't know if you will understand that.
I will try.
Yes, all those
Yeah.
was to tickle and to test the ability of a growing child from maybe 3, 4, 5 years old, 6, like that. They give you just those stories. We call them what? Is it tale or folk tales?
Folk tales, yeah.
Yeah. And usually if they tell you, if you are very young, they tell you short ones. And they also give you also the teaching which goes with it.
Yeah.
So that was very, very important. It helped. Actually, I kept saying that, oh, my grandmother was a real professor. She knew how to handle us. But now, do we have even time for our children? You know, these children of ours, we leave them to the world now, to the internet, to the babysitters, to the helpers, and they miss out on what should come out from the parents.
Yeah.
So I have always said I can never thank my grandmother a lot. I should have done a lot more to her, but she went too early before I had worked for a few years.
You can pass it on to your children now.
Yes,
you
I
can
keep
tell
telling
the
my
stories.
children.
Yeah.
I tell them, but some of the children do not even allow their children, you know. I am now a grandmother. Do they allow their children to come and stay? They say, Mommy's too busy. Mommy's too busy.
Yes,
So
and I wanted to bring in Francis on this, the shifting sense of identity, and this is something we've noticed across conversations. There was a point in time where your ethnic identity was the strongest identity, but the more that we've become united as a nation, identities have matched. For example, intermarriages. You're running a Gulu City Marathon here. Multiple ethnic identities will be here. Should we then say we should start building a new sense of identity, or should we model the new sense of identity on the old that we had before?
I think we can marry the old and the new and mix them to come up with a new unique form of identity. I think the key thing for me is to restore confidence in the Africanness of many of our things. And I say restore confidence because today I can tell you without any fear of contradiction that if the colonialists had not disrupted us, we would have superpowers of ethnic groupings. Talk about Acholi undoubtedly would be a superpower.
That's true.
Bunyoro would undoubtedly be a superpower. Buganda, Toro, we would have superpowers, and we would have crafted, you know, our settings and become very, very far. Why do I say this? When the colonialist comes here, he begins to dismantle our societies through many things which you know, Raymond. Part of it is our laws and our culture, deculturalization, and, you know, begin to term just the legal system where I function, create an order in council, say that the English law is superior to the customary law, and we carry that. They begin to, and then they begin to sort of group ethnicities based on their interest. They want cash crops, they say Acholis, grow this, grow that, grow that. Buganda has collaborated, they give it a little bit of favor in terms of education and many things. Then they say the certain group of ethnic people can work in the army and, you know, to support, and then they continue to brand. And I think if I'm reading Mamdani, Slow Poison, is bringing that point very, very vividly. And we walk through colonialism, and then we get independence. Then we don't have the skills now to dismantle the colonial state. The speeches by the independence leaders were mainly built on rhetoric, a lot of oratory, but the skills to now dismantle the colonial state become very, very, very necessary. And many of them, unfortunately, didn't have a lot of educated people to take over all these things. So they then resort to the colonial practices to sustain post-colonial states. So you then see tribalism again begins to come in, you know, and parties, because the colonialist lives when parties are coming, and he lets the parties to be built on ethnic grounds and religious grounds. And we again come, take over our countries and begin to build that. So every time, anywhere, leaders come and promise transformation, you know, huge transformation. I'm coming in, I am going to change. What my previous person has done, it's a new page. Then when they take over power, what do we see consistently from independence? Slowly they return to the colonial script, where now it becomes the state is built on a system of enforcing law and order. And whatever the state therefore wants is what goes on.
What happens, yeah.
So what then happens to the pre-colonial state? It is completely emasculated in terms of many things, and then it is recreated to be a client of the current of the current system. Does that empower them completely? Absolutely no. So we have to think of identity in terms of taking us back to the pre-colonial state, and then abandoning the things that worked then may not work now, without losing the spirit of that identity that makes us who we are. I tell you, our differences as Africans should never be used against us. There are things that God has put in Raymond and the Batoro people. Your softness, your way of doing things, calmness, is a strength. It's not a weakness. Our assertiveness, many times, and our being independent, is a strength, not a weakness. Our loyalty is a strength, not a weakness. But what does the colonial state say? Okay, it says these guys are loyal, therefore they can help me protect power. So he sends the Acholi to the army. And what does he do in the army? In the army you follow orders. Orders are kill. Yes. Kill whoever you arrest and kill. So unfortunately we use that following orders on other Ugandans, and that's where now there's an identity crisis. And then you see people saying, sometimes these guys in the north were killed us, you see. Then after independence, people sustain. Some people in down Karuma said these guys are only what? Killers. You get it? That is sustained for a very long time. Never mind that in this same area, there are people like Gimara who doesn't even know how to shoot an AK-47. If you gave me one to operate,
you don't know how to start.
I will struggle. Yeah, you get it. And I don't even want to use it because it's not my nature anyway. I don't even want to hold a gun at all. And I'm happy with the way I am. So the identity we had that should have helped us build our pre-colonial states is destroyed. We get independence, we lack the skills to rebuild them, then we go back to the script that the colonialist has given us. We become oppressive, we become very, very, very guarded with power, and that's all that matters in most of these countries. So what should we do is to begin to celebrate the uniqueness that we have, to begin to once again remind ourselves that we are actually special people. And that's where these things like marathon come in.
That's true.
Because marathons, I am so happy that there are so many people, including others who are 60 plus, who are coming to Gulu for the first time. 60 years, Raymond. Amazing. Coming to Gulu for the first time. And they'll tell you, some of them who came last year, I used to be told Gulu, there is nothing. It is just a hot place. It is a desert. But I am here. Changed. I see that actually Gulu is a vibrant place. The people are vibrant. That's why we are theming it culture and heritage. So that people know that actually what these guys do, they have a unique culture. They have a unique things. The things the colonialists wanted to suppress are actually things that should have made them a first world country. I give you our justice system.
Yes.
Today the Americans are studying retribution. The legal system they have built based on you kill someone,
you get killed.
You get killed. They are studying ours, which says no reconciliation. How do Acholis do it? Because ours was superior. Yeah. This thing was simple. If you kill the person, that would not change much. But if I killed Raymond, Raymond's people are going to come for me, even if it's after 20, 30 years. They will come to avenge the death of Raymond.
Yeah.
So what do? Do I wait for Raymond's people to come and avenge? And in avenging, they might finish all of us. So what do? I reach out to Raymond's people and tell Raymond's people, I have messed up big time. I have killed this son of yours. Can we make peace? Then they go through a process called matoput, some bitter leaves, which is reconciliation. Then at that point, bloodshed is stopped. The two families actually become now connected. Forgiveness is there. Now, there is no better system of dealing with murders in society than that. Why? Because it contributes to permanent peace. Sending somebody to prison does not solve issues.
It's just retribution.
It's just retribution,
cycles.
yes. So, we need to reflect, to say there are things that worked in the past. What are they? Can we begin to do them? Can we begin to also use the spaces we have, not to wait for anyone to give us the spaces, but we citizens can do. If hashtag can create a conversation, let them do. If Honorable can have a conversation in Parliament, bring a private member's bill to make us, again, Ugandans, to celebrate our identity without really, following the colonial script of saying this is superior group, this is an inferior group. No, we come together to celebrate our uniqueness, but use that to build a Uganda. We don't have a country we call Uganda. We have a colonial state given to us as Uganda. As Ugandans, we have never built that. We are still hating on each other because the Muzungu left that script for us. Yet we are a wonderful group of people. So a marathon is one thing. We'll go to run in Fort Portal. We will sit together. We'll eat food together. We'll go to Cessation. You now come to Gulu here, where we are entreating you to a cultural performance. You go back and say, well, I am a Ugandan. These are actually my people. What I read in books, what my parents told me, they are not as bad. Gimara is actually not a killer. He's an Acholi, he's not a killer like they say these people are killers. You associate with them, you are done. You get the point? So this is just not about a marathon. It is also our contribution to nation building by creating spaces that are not available for Ugandans to interact more and actually persuade each other that they are one people and that they can actually now begin to recreate this country on the basis of what works for them, not on the basis of what was handed to them. Thank you.
You've made a very powerful point, and I wanted to bring Ojok in on building. Building is exceptionally hard. It's easy to tear down, but it's very hard to build. And for our younger generation, the influences are even bigger. The old state was disrupted by colonialism. Today, some of the disruptions are like technology. On your phone now, you have access to hundreds and thousands of cultures. How do you build in such a system? How do you get young people, for example, to believe in some of the things that Gimara is saying and own them and start to build around them?
Interesting question. From my experience, and this is something that came up also very prominently last year when we hosted a similar conversation, we had Ruat Yusuf Adek come into our space. By the time we ended...
Ruat is chief, for people who are just listening for the first time, yes.
one of the 57
yes,
came to our space, and one thing that was very clear by the end of that conversation is that we have a disconnect between young people and the elderly. Partly, it goes back to what Mego was saying. In the past, we would have Wang O, and if something happened wrong, either in Mego's family, assuming Mego and council comes from the same family, the elders would sit people together, and that will be ironed out. But now, we have people who moved away from the villages. There is no time for elders to sit with their children and even talk or pass on some of these lessons. And even for young parents like myself, we are learning parenting on the job. So you do not have any kind of positive parenting to model for yourself, and now you actually have to do it. So for us, and with the young people that we work with, because at the moment we're actually doing a research to interrogate intergenerational harm as an impact of the war. And we are very deliberate about bringing about 3 generations together. You have the very young people, 18 and below, sometimes even up to 25. Then you have those who are 40, 45, and then you have those who are above 60, sort of like to come and talk, so that if there are issues that someone is saying, look, while I was growing up, I didn't have my father in the picture. My mother raised me by themselves. And literally what that means, in my understanding, is that you have parents who are struggling to provide for their children, to make sure that that child is in school, they are fed, and there's a house, a roof over their head. But that parent is not connecting with the child, is not telling that child how to live with a cousin. You also have parents in the outskirts of town who are sending their children to either relatives who are in urban centers, in Kampala. For us in the past, when you're going to school to Kampala, either you're going to live with an uncle or an aunt who may not parent over you like your actual parent would. So what we have seen work, and it's something that we've just started doing, because we thought it doesn't make sense for us to do a research around with young people and then just use them as respondents, but have them be a part of that. When you're going to a community, we've been to Buchoro, which is just a stone throw away from here. Many of our young people don't know what happened in Buchoro, or even Lukodi, or even Onyama here, which is within the city. But Onyama was one of the largest IDP camps those days when we have, now in town. So that disconnect, we have to be deliberate about bringing it back, where we have spaces and young people are sitting together with their elders. And I think in actually, Mego and Council will correct me if I'm wrong. It's believed that there is no orphan. No child should be an orphan. Because if you died, if your parents died, your parents, your father or mother had siblings who are supposed to naturally take care of you. But what we see now is actually those people who will be struggling for, and if your parents had some properties, those would be the people who will, be struggling for such. And we've seen so many young people who have either been abandoned because their parents were no more, and instead of being taken care of, as we say, it takes a community, to a village, to raise a child. Now it's you. So if, God forbid, you were to disappear for one reason or another, the worry would be, how would my children remain behind? Because again, Mego mentioned it sometimes back, our children now do not even have an interest in bringing their children to our home. And for Mego, by the way, she's one of those leaders whose gate never closes. Maybe later very late in the night. Now imagine if such a person, her grandchildren are not coming to, enjoy knowledge from her. And she is very glad that her grandmother did that for her. What does that mean for 2 or 3 generations when she's gone? Because definitely this knowledge will not be passed on. So we need to be deliberate about creating these spaces where young people learn, not just from their parents, but also their grandparents and other elders in the society, so that we can bridge that divide and begin rebuilding. And what I've seen happen in my village now, for instance, if there's a traditional marriage, and I'll come to this before I wind up, you realize that elders will deliberately send youthful people in that home to go and be a part of the conversation. If there's a barrier, God forbid, for most families where they have grown up by themselves, if something like this happens, they'll start looking, who is the uncle who knows what to do? So one of those ways is that if somebody dies, an elder dies, because these elders will eventually go. And now if we are the ones who are supposed to organize or handle some of these things, you need to be a part of those who are doing it now, instead of shying away. And I know many young people don't want to go. They just want to be sent, go and do this, go and do that. But stay where they are actually organizing things, teaching what happens. And as I said recently on, I think, Twitter, Jim Spire has been talking about traditional marriage. And before that, there was a picture of a delegation, I think, from the groom side, who were, crawling into the parliament in Acholi, where they talk about dowry and these things. And it caused a whole lot of conversation online. People saying, I cannot marry from that culture. Which primitive culture is this? Yes. Then we are telling people, if you want to marry an Acholi woman, this is what you're going to have to do. Doesn't matter how old you are, unless it's a medical issue and you cannot go on your knees and enter your mother-in-law's house. That's like the highest form of respect when it comes to marriage. So I think when we come together, and if spaces like the Gulu City Marathon are bringing people together, these are some of the things that we have to learn. Unfortunately, our cultural leaders and elders are not being proactive to teach young people about these practices. People now think paying dowry is a fine that a man has to, pay to the bride's family, because and I mean, you cannot blame them, because some families have commercialized this bright wealth and all that. But that's a form of respect that you are taking someone's daughter, and then you have to go to the family and say, look, your daughter is coming to our home, and they are going to be productive. They are going to contribute to building wealth in our family. So, and in any case, you cannot compensate for a human being, whether they are alive or dead. So I think our elders and those who know better now, or are looking into the future, and they think that we have to come back to where, let's say, Ubuntu, where we are one, no matter where you come from. We have to start involving young people, and deliberately. And sometimes if you have to force them to come to these spaces, you have to force them to be a part of this, so that they learn.
That's very interesting. And Betty, I want to bring you in on the matter of leadership. Taking leadership, you mentioned cultural leaders, but it could also be political leaders. In the current setup, political leaders also qualify as the leaders of regions, the leaders of people. You're also centers of influence in some form, manner, or way. If I have to behave like you if I want to progress in life. In terms of the amount of responsibility, how much responsibility do you think lies upon you, for example, to make sure Gulu City Marathon succeeds, but also the infusion of actually culture into the Gulu City Marathon is seen?
Which is what?
How much responsibility lies upon you?
Yeah.
Do you see any responsibility anyway?
A lot.
Yes.
A lot. One thing is that for us, the political leaders, we have to be exemplary. And we have to have our followers those who admire. And you can be admired through your own actions. If what you do inspire people, then they admire you, you become their role models. I want to put an example of now not a political leader, but he was even not a leader. I worked a lot with the children also, because at one time I was secretary for Children's Affairs in Gulu district then, under the leadership of the late Walter Ochara Deutsch. And we decided to put up a small community-based organization called LRA and Women's Association, founded by me, due to the fact that our children were not doing well. They were very indisciplined, very disobedient, and very many of them would just, fall into conflict with the laws. So we moved around with them. And sometimes when we collected them together, we asked them, what would you like to be in the future? What would you like to be? I would like to be like the late Dr. Lukuya. Huh? That means they admired. Even if Lukuya is no more, Dr. Lukuya is no more, those who knew about him were still admiring, and yet he was not a political leader. How about for us political leaders who are always into this space, open space, into communities, in the media? If we do the right things, we should be able to influence the young people to do better. At the moment, I move a lot in the communities, and that is also to look for votes. But I keep saying we should stand with our young people. What they are going through is not their own making. It is just the problem that the community, the society went through. So for that matter, we cannot completely run away and, keep stabbing them. They are going through a lot of pain, a lot of problems. Then instead of, telling them, we stand with you in your hardship, but we want to give you hope that it is not permanent. Maybe one time God is going to open. If a door is closed, God will open a window for you. So you be hopeful. And this hope to our young people should not only be given by us, the leaders. Leadership starts right in the family. The two parents are leaders of the family. So parents should be kind to their children in spite of the difficulties, the poverty they go through. They should be supportive to each other, but more so to the young people, because the young people are very, very vulnerable to falling into problems like drug addict, substance abuse, over drinking, even organizing themselves into gang and causing a lot of problems to society. So this is possible to change even through us leaders. As long as we are exemplary, we come, we be with them. We are not, our work is not only in parliament. For us parliamentarians, even then the local leaders, you find that local leaders who are paid for, if they have monthly payment, then it is, they call it ex gracias. It's not a kind of salary. So that means that you are more into community. You have to also, if you want to emphasize hard work, then you should also do a lot of hard work yourself. If you emphasize unity, get something which unite people. I try to organize young people, especially the male, around sports, football. And this excites them a lot. And into that space, you are able to also put in your your view, your advice to them. You can advise them. You can listen to them. If you give your ears to them, these young people, if you give your time and your ears to them, it is possible for them to change, even those who are like on the street. And my belief is that this marathon is one of those activities which is very important to bring a cross-section, yes, the elderly, the young people, and the young people get so much excited. And the big ones will have also time to talk to the young ones, and they see that, now, if I grow, if I keep growing, I want to be like that one. I want to be like that one. That is, if you are good.
Powerful.
But if you keep abusing and then insulting and then say, these are useless people, we are going to arrest them without even, doing your own research. Even if we encourage researchers to be there, but we in an ordinary way, we should also do our own research, yes, to find out why is this. In the past, we used not to have a lot of mental illness, but now mental illness is just the order of the day. Why should this be? Then you are already into it, maybe trying to say, it is important that we see how community can handle this problem. For example, when I already talk about mental illness, usually people have to just get stones and throw onto somebody who is mentally ill instead of helping them. Instead of being kind, instead of knowing that that is a sickness. How did the sickness come about? And it affects mainly the young people, sometimes because of this substance abuse. When somebody is permanently drunk, it becomes addict, and that addiction can even take you to mental illness. So how do we help? I have always also been very grateful, that is with the religious, especially with our Archbishop Emeritus, to think of a University of Sacred Heart, which is there to also do a lot on counseling. So a society like ours need a lot of counseling, not only by the politicians, but even by the religious. By the way, the religious meet the community, the society, the population more than
the politicians,
yes,
every week,
because
of course.
Every week, and every time they go to do their work, their what do they call it? Pastoral work. They are meeting with people, and on Sundays you find that church there is full to the brim. The other one there is also full to the brim. That one, and right now we have very many churches. And Friday, you find that even the mosques are also full with people. So if we all think that that is also an area of concern, then we need to be all inclusive, involve the religious leaders, the political leaders, the cultural leaders. For the cultural setting is more with our cultural leaders, because I always think that whatever the case may be, it is important to have those cultural aspects. It will always enrich the society. They are different. Even here the clan, the Payera clan may have differences with maybe the Pura clan, but those differences, if put together, should be to enrich the society. We say, when we handle them well, it should be that unity in diversity, and the diversity, if positively taken, will make us even move better and faster, in spite of now the colonial influence.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And Francis, I want to come to you now because we're coming to almost a close of this conversation. And I want maybe you speak a little bit about the involvement of the community in the running and how that might reinforce identity. Because I've consistently run. I've seen the Fort Portal Marathon, for example. The local business community has gotten involved heavily and massively so. The Cessation Marathon, same story. The locals have gotten involved. They even stand outside on the morning to clap for people who are running. And that reinforces this culture of friendliness, identity too. What's the plan for involvement of the local community of Gulu into the marathon?
Thank you, Raymond. One of the drivers of these kinds of marathons anywhere in the world, that's why if you've done the Berlin Marathon, the New York, the City of London Marathon, the Amsterdam Marathon, there are spaces for the city to pause. I mean, the only time, they don't have many public holidays in the US, but the only time roads will be closed even in London when there is a marathon, which is quite a decision for those cities to make because of the sheer number of traffic that goes through some of those major streets. So the drivers of this marathon, in my view, are anchored on one, getting places like Gulu to give to the world what they have. And that is why community involvement then becomes, very, very key. Because when people come into a city like this, they interact with the community. So the community must be prepared to interact with them based on what they are able to offer them. So we have done a lot of, last year we started very late. We just made a decision. We said, okay, do we implement 2024 or we wait 2025? We said, let's implement 2024 so that we get whatever lessons we can to improve on the 2025 edition. So we had not reached out to the community a lot, but this time we have engaged them. We've been with them from the last marathon up to now. We have not only engaged them in terms of letting them know about the marathon, but explain to them the benefits of this marathon. This marathon will drive the local economy in many ways. You have 1,500 have registered, both in Gulu and out of Gulu, most of them out of Gulu. But we are seeing that many of them who come to spend, I mean, a person like Raymond Mujuni, by the time you leave here, the minimum you will have spent is 500,000. The minimum. Your accommodation, your food, if you have to go and tour one touristic place, you definitely will have to part with some money. All that money remains here. The hotels, as we speak now, many of them have good business. Some of them have sold out because of the marathon. So you have that in one weekend and a weekend leading to Christmas, people are making some good money to be able to spend. And there is no economy, as you know, that grows without empowering citizens to spend. So we see that this marathon is doing that, and we are very excited about that. The other aspect of the community involvement is actually to drive a culture of running. we don't expect that we'll see so many runners from Gulu running for the first 2-3 years. Why? Because a new culture is evolving. Let's remember that 20 years ago, this was a broken place. And when it broke, we did not implement an effective transitional justice system to restore this society back to its place. Yeah. There are people who grew up in camps who are just struggling to live with themselves. There are people who grew up knowing only one thing, that all I need is to sleep at night, and the next day wait for handouts. They still need to be told that in a normal world, you actually don't live on handouts. You just have to work. There are people whose spirit is still broken because we have not repaired our people from the war in terms that we should have. We needed to have a Marshall Plan of some sorts for areas like this. Very, very, very effectively designed and effectively executed. We didn't have that. So we recognize it's going to take some time to have everyone come on board. But we also think that beyond the health benefits of running actually, as you know, Raymond, for some of us, it's an effective stress reliever. It is a very effective response to stress, to mental health and all these things. Many times you just do a 5-kilometer run, 10-kilometer run, whatever was bothering you has disappeared. You then get to bed and have a very good night's sleep. So we have to explain to people that, you don't have to go to alcohol. We have a young generation. Yesterday I drove in late at night, driving into almost 1 a.m. into Gulu. But along the way you are finding young kids, imbibing in alcohol. But if you have to run the next day, you have to be in bed early. So a culture of discipline needs to evolve. In the past, when we grew up, we had football fields, we had PE, sports was compulsory. You had to do sports as a young person. And the reason was very simple. When you do sports, you are not easily distracted because it gives you a structure of discipline. So what we need to bring back our young people to running as a way of, managing mental stress, as a way of health, them getting healthy. So what we have done in Gulu City Marathon, we are doing this just not a marathon. It is a lifestyle movement for this area. We have, for instance, supported the establishment of the Gulu Running Club. We organized them this year, launched them last year. We are connecting them. We want to mobilize some shoes for the young people running here. And if there are people out there who can give us running shoes, give us...
I actually carried a pair because you asked us to carry pairs to Gulu.
We give these young people their first pair of shoes. They begin to run. They begin to run, find purpose again, anchor a life of discipline, because you cannot succeed in this world unless you're a disciplined person. You will just be pretending. So a life of running brings a life of discipline. Many people I know who run are actually the most disciplined people because they understand that structure matters and that fitness helps your mental delivery. It helps you to do many things. So we want to support the Gulu Running Club to be established. We want the local economy to benefit from this marathon every first Saturday of the year. We'd like people to come to Gulu and spend money. But also, we would like this marathon to be the world's most cultural marathon. We looked all over the world and we said, what can Gulu give you? Again, Raymond, identity. Gulu can serve the world of the unique African culture. For people to fly in, we see 15 years from now, 20 years from now, people flying in with their families. Some will run on Saturday. Others will just be attending a cultural dinner like we are going to have this evening. We want that to be something that will curate and sell to the world. And we can do these things. The one thing we need to do for us, the Africans, is to begin doing things boldly and to be bullish about them.
Yep.
So as Gulu, we are going to sell the world's most cultural marathon. We have done these marathons. There is nowhere in the world where you will find one that is so immersed with culture like you will find in Gulu. So we are starting tomorrow to sell that, and we are going to sell it. And from today, 10 years, 15 years from now, you will see thousands of people coming to Gulu to just celebrate. What that will do, Raymond, is to build confidence to the local people, the clans, the cultural leaders. Will once again begin to say, oh, if people can pay $1,000, $2,000 to fly from Turkey to come and watch my culture, then I'm a serious person. Yeah. Find that confidence that is lacking in our people, and then begin to take life seriously. Begin to, identify themselves much more. Then lastly, we're also using this marathon to build community. Last year, 10% of the registration proceeds, we gave them to the education fund, the Derokwan Education Initiative, that is being spearheaded by the Chief Justice, Owindolo, and Ambassador Larotunu. There's what they call the Rochopajo Initiative, Fix Home Again. Again, a response to the state of brokenness of our society. So we are supporting them as our leaders, and we want, again, people to go back to school. So what the marathon did, gave 10% of the proceeds to that. We're also using the marathon to mobilize our friends. You get it? Stakeholders to come to Gulu. This year, 10% of the proceeds will be going to establishing the Martin Alike Youth Skilling Center in Abole, which is in Omoro. Now, we did a needs assessment there. Young people are spending a lot of time in training center. And Raymond, can you imagine what we can do as Africa if we trained our people? You have been in Europe, you are in Oxford. Those countries are aging. The plumbers that are doing plumbing are last generation plumbers. We can empower our people with skills and take them not in Middle East to be houseboys, house girls. Skills to go and earn a lot of money in these countries. That's how you build our people. We need to give our people hope, retool them, and send them to these places. And they earn real money. So the marathon is one of the ways to build Acholi in that way. So we want the Abole, this marathon, to help build the Martin Alike Youth Skilling Center. As I speak now, the Rotary Club of Kampala, where I belong, are launching the plan. So you can see it's a marathon they have come to run, but they're also mobilizing their resources to build this center. So there is a heavy community involvement in this. We are spending a lot of personal resources in this marathon, not because we have the money, but because we have a heart. That the heart of getting our identity, restoring confidence in our people, giving them opportunities to find spaces, to once again be this tribe that, by the way, if the Muzungu had not come, actually would be a first world country. Because they had everything. There were no orphans, like he said. We knew how to treat widows. We had a civilized legal system. Top notch, managed land without any crisis. It is the current legal system that has messed us up. Our dances, our food. Harvard in '63 did a study on our food. They just wanted to find how come that these people don't have a lot of non-communicable diseases? And the study revealed that the food they eat, the exercises they do. So you imagine if that voice, those voices are again located once again and encouraged to again we help people find their voices, we inspire people to believe in themselves once again, and to say we can make it. The Gulu City Marathon is just one initiative to tell our people, look, we can do great things. And we'll do a great marathon here comparable to any in the world. to just inspire them that we can do great things. Begin to believe in ourselves. We don't have to wait for anyone. We can do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You mentioned that just before you leave, I want you to just talk about those initiatives for people who are listening and are here for the first time. If I wanted to donate, for example, to the Gulu Running Club, how am I able to do that? If I wanted to donate into the education fund, how am I able to do that? Is there a place where people can find some central information and directly donate?
Yeah, we'll have the Gulu City Marathon tent that will have all that information. So if you have carried an extra pair of shoes, you want to give it to the Gulu Running Club, we will receive that. Yeah. If you want to give to the Rokwan Education Initiative, we'll give you the Momo codes. We are not even receiving the money. We just tell you this is the code, donate to them. Your donation will help, educate young people. If you want to build towards, if you want to help set up the Martin Alike Skilling Center, we'll give the information. So we are just creating platforms for people who want to give. But again, most importantly, we are also saying the people in the north, let's find our voices again. Let us come back to the table as a people who believe in themselves. And this marathon is to create such conversations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francis. When you were talking, we were joined by Chairman. I just refer to him as Chairman. I hope people in Gulu still call you Chairman. So, Chairman, thank you so much for joining us, albeit late, but we understand the circumstances. You are dealing with a bereavement. We've just been talking about identity, so maybe you just briefly tell us what identity means for you, how you've seen that identity changing in Gulu City, and what you think the marathon can offer the Gulu.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to apologize for coming in late. We were hosting the Director General of the World Intellectual Property Organization. We only saw him off at about 2 p.m. Then I had to rush to catch up. I actually tried to call you back.
Yes. Sorry, I was recording.
You missed my call. Now, there are two concepts. One is called self-conception, namely how you see yourself. And how you see yourself can be distorted by negative experiences, by trauma, and the weight of violence, such as we have witnessed not only in Northern Uganda, but in every part of Uganda. Every part of Uganda has been hurt. There is no part of Uganda which hasn't been hurt. So self-conception is one concept. I'll elaborate a bit later. Then the other one is cosmoconception, how you see the world. Now that also can be influenced greatly by what you have experienced and what has happened to you. So we look at ourselves in the context of Africa. Francis hinted on the colonial experience. When the colonialists came here, particularly Sir Samuel Baker, and I quote from his own, the Journal of the Discovery of the White Nile, which he wrote as his memoir. Wherever Samuel Baker went, because he was white, people treated him like he was some kind of superior human being. And they always gave him a higher station. Even in meetings, they would put for him a kind of high table where he would sit. And then even his hosts, those who were receiving him, would take a subordinate position. When he arrived in Acholi, according to his journal, he had a different kind of experience. We sit on stools. So the people who received him put the stools in a circle. And then they told him, "You're welcome, sir. Please have a seat." He was shocked that they were not treating him as a superior human being. And he wrote in his journal that these people obviously thought themselves my equals. Now, if you want to understand our people in Acholi, you start from that concept of equality. Our people really value an egalitarian society. And that is reflected even in our architecture. Our houses are round. Even our dances are in a circle. Even when we are eating, we sit in a circle. Everything is circular in our society. And that is the essence of our identity, our self-conception. Now, anybody who wants to impose themselves on our people, to project themselves as superior, definitely that is a person who will be resisted. And we in Acholi look at human beings the way you look at legal tender. If you have a 1,000 shilling note, even if it is torn and dirty and tattered, and then another one is crisp and brand new from the bank, the question is, does the newer one buy more items than the old and dirty one? So the Acholi identity is based on the intrinsic value of the human being. That is taught right from the homestead. We value that a lot. And that's why Sir Samuel Baker is the most loved white man. If ever there was a good imperialist, then you'd say, according to the Acholi, Samuel Baker is a good imperialist. And that's why we named our big school Sir Samuel Baker Secondary School. And because our people were amazed by the beauty of his wife, they nicknamed her Anyadwe, which means daughter of the moon. That's how much they valued Sir Samuel Baker. So if you want to understand our people, start by looking at our commitment to building an egalitarian society. And that's why in our villages, even the compounds of our homes are footpaths. My home where I live there's a footpath in front of in my compound. People walk up and down my compound. It is a very normal thing. There's actually, I don't think we have a real concept of trespass. we never had it. We have now introduced it. And as they said earlier, we now talk about social development goals, so people talk of indicators. But when I was growing up, I don't remember World Food Program coming to distribute food. We were happy. We only needed cash to buy salt and sugar and soap. Otherwise, our granaries were full, and our commandments were there. Theft was really looked down upon. The Acholi people really frown on the corrupt. They frown on a thief. They frown on a liar. These are things. I remember, do you remember the inquiry into the oil money in the Ministry of Industry? And in his defense, the then minister, Hilary Onek, said, I'm an Acholi. I'm not a thief. Now, that one was powerful, by the way. And it is also the same about dignity. Somebody will say, I'm an Acholi. You can't despise me, however rich you are. There is, for instance, if you throw money at people, they will not pick it up. I don't know whether it is happening now with the campaigns. Yes. So these are the shifting identities.
Yep.
But in our culture, if you throw food at me, I don't pick it up. if you throw anything at me, I don't pick it up. These are things that need to be studied. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
It's not happening or just like that, but it is in very rare circumstance that then people with the money throw money and people fight for the money. It is very rare. You don't throw money at people. And if you do that, people despise you. I remember this was done before people were coming for campaign. It was done, and people talked about it for a long time. It was done by one general, where he threw this 20,000 and people were fighting for. Look at this man. What the hell was he doing? Throwing money like that and people fighting, people breaking their bones. No. That was a very high level of disrespect of the people. So we need to respect our people.
Yeah. So we've been here for about an hour and a half, and I want us to close the conversation. So I'm just going to go around and ask you to each make your concluding remarks. I think we will end with Chairman, and then we will close our conversation for today and also allow for the cultural troupe which is outside waiting to start their performance. So maybe we'll start again in order of seniority with you. Yes.
Well, thank you very much. I want to say we still insist that we need to bring back that beautiful, good aspect of our culture. So we have not yet gone too far with, there was this transitional justice law that we should have come with in Parliament. It has not seen light. I think that would help also in the truth-telling. Truth-telling, you know, the way we have talked here, it means that the Choli people are very truthful. They love dignity. However poor you are a human being. You should be held with high dignity, not to reduce you. So there is a need to do a little more on can we say we now have aftermath. The aftermath. The marathon is good, but that alone will not address a lot of issues here. The actually what? There is Rochopajo. The Rochopajo is very important.
You'll have to translate that word because there are people who are watching on YouTube.
Rochopajo is rehabilitating. We say rehabilitating home.
Oh, okay. Yes.
The rehabilitation is not just this ordinary one. It has to be deep. That is where Ambassador and Justice or Windolo are actually the heads. And also in the church, we need to continuously do our work well to let the society not reduce those other ones there who are going through very difficult situation. And this culture of extended family structure. I remember even Honorable Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Honorable Mao, used to tell us that he lived with his aunt. That is because of the beauty of extended family structure, to accommodate the motherless, the fatherless, the vulnerable. But right now, we need to work very hard on that to come back. That will help to remove our children also from the street. And the fight about land is just also to see that this poverty is making people to dispose of their land even when they don't want to. Some other people say, why don't they use the land to cultivate and earn from it? Our people are not now used to this, is it hand hose?
Yes.
That is backward. At least before the war, if you move to a homestead of Anacholi, you will always find 2 ox plows or even 3 under the veranda, and a kraal outside the homestead. And then you find even goats, chicken, all these, and granaries full. However, I can also say that during the time that I grew up, things which were difficult for the citizens were taken up by government and by taxpayers' money. But now, things which are difficult are left to the people. You find that the higher you go, the more, that is in education, the more expensive it becomes. So this time, the higher you go, the more you the parents have to shoulder the millions of shillings that you have to pay for tuition. That was not the case those days in the past. And even with health, you go to health, right now if you should break your leg, then they question you for, maybe they ask you for 7 million, 8 million. That is too much for a citizen, an ordinary person. Where would that ordinary person get such money? Those are the things that government used to do very quickly for people. These days you can get Panadol in government in government public health centers. But when it comes to now, can we say antibiotics, you have to go and buy. Why? It is that government should shoulder. So when it comes to CT scan, then you have to pay. It is too expensive for the people. So there are certain things that government should do. Maybe it is not only even for us, so that I cannot only talk about accountability. You know, the accountability of the poverty of our people is still with the government. The government has to account why the people are so poor. Why is it that, we lose a lot of our dignity when we are poor? That's why people rush for this money which is thrown in the air. You throw this 2,000 notes, maybe 100 of them, then people fighting for it. People used not to do that at all. So my appeal is the local leaders, the political leaders, local or national, the religious leaders, the cultural leaders, the opinion leaders, we all need to unite. And there is what we say, attack kilwa, and repay ayetero. Unity is strength. And I am strong because of the people. So we need to take those two seriously. Together, we will actually reach the goal where we want to go. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Betty. And to you, Francis.
Thank you, Raymond, for hosting this conversation. In closing, I just want to restate that 20 years ago, as we reflect on the 20 years since the cessation of the LRA insurgency in Northern Uganda, it was not possible that people would convene in Gulu to do anything, let alone running. But that we can even think of dreaming to bring a run here and bring many people, thousands of people, is a revelation of the resilience of the Gulu as a place, bouncing back from a place of war to a place where today people can comfortably come and do a 42-kilometer run and then return back, is something worth celebrating. So I want to say that many times such stories remind us, or should remind us, the African people, that with resilience we can actually solve our problems. I am just amazed at the number of people who have come in to support us as Gulu Marathon. We have young people who are doing a lot of voluntary work, you know, out there selling kits, inviting people to Gulu. Some of them are not from here, but just it is amazing that they have come together to actually sell Gulu to the world as a place where you can come to celebrate culture and its unique heritage. The heritage of Gulu, like Chairman Mao and Megwaol have told you, is a unique one. It's a unique people, just like any other place in Uganda. We need to find those, identify the things that made us strong, the things that God uniquely put in every community to make them different from other places. Yeah. America is a generous country. You can't take that from them. They, for many years, the Marshall Plan, they gave a lot of money that rebuilt Europe. They are doing the same in Ukraine. They have been putting money in many places. So whether you like it or not, it is a generous country compared to many people and for many years. So those are some of the things that must make us celebrate countries like America. Coming back to Uganda, they actually have a unique culture and heritage. We need to find why these people who once were so loyal that the colonialists began to trust them with Uganda's civil service, that they did work, and why corruption was lowest in that time, why they did not remain in Kololo even when they had opportunity to bring laws and policies to make them own government houses. Yeah. They didn't do that. That's something to celebrate. So this marathon space, I like what you're doing, is to cause that conversation without name calling, without just over a run, over a conversation like a cultural dinner, to cause reflection of the things that can make us build a Uganda we want. A Uganda where we come together from different places, do a run, but have a conversation that makes us, you know, united. There are so many people who live this weekend with new friends that they didn't have before. And that is what we must do to build our country. Lastly, we must also invoke a spirit of doing things that make our countries great. We, the people behind Gulu City Marathon, have benchmarked, and we want to create a world-class marathon, and we will do it. And that is what we want Africa to believe, that when you travel a bit and God has helped you, it's not just to buy a shirt in London, do something. Come back and implement. Our leaders travel. The per diem, when you look at our budget, the travel budget is so huge, huge. But the question is, when they travel, what do they see? What do they see? What do they learn? And if they learn, why don't they execute? There have been so many benchmarking trips to Singapore by our leaders, from all across. Why don't we create a Singapore? Singapore benchmarked Uganda in the 60s, in the 70s. And they benchmarked Uganda at the time when there was Semei Nyanzi, who is from here, who crafted UDC. One of the rare things that, if had been implemented, would have government, you know, killed it. Now they have brought it back. But you imagine if they had implemented Semei Nyanzi's plan. The guys from Singapore took it, dusted it, added a few things, became a first world country. So also as things like this marathon, we want to do them excellently. We have brought in a timing company from South Africa. Why? Because we want, if you run in Gulu and break the world record, it must be recognized that the world record was broken in Gulu. not haphazard runs where you come and run, you break a world record, nobody knows.
Yeah.
You know that you have broken it. Why? Because we don't have a timing machine.
Yes, and for the runners, Gulu actually has good altitude for many personal bests.
So we have spared no effort and expense, not because we have the resources, but because we are upgrading our thinking, that we have to think, you know, to do things excellently. We have to be excellent, and that is what we Africans can do. And that's the leadership we require to deploy, to transform things. Come to a place, whether it's a marathon, whether you are sweeping the street, begin to do things excellently. We are a people who do things haphazardly. We have had to do some of the roads in Gulu ourselves, to just do slashing some places ourselves as Gulu City Marathon. And we're asking ourselves, why are we doing that? Because we want people, it's just good manners to clean or to slash your grass if it has overgrown as a city. So we are doing it not because we want to do it, but we want to implant a system of excellence.
Excellent. Yeah.
And that does not start in the big things, it starts with the big things. Does not start sometimes with the government, sometimes it starts with the question of what can I do as an individual to make my society better. And that's a conversation we want to be on every year as Gulu City Marathon. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Francis. Ojok.
Yes. 3 years ago, I drove to a village in Agago. I met a very old woman. That woman had a son who was living on the streets in Gulu. That son had got another girl pregnant. And for him, that is where the question of his identity began. Now, I'm about to become a father. I've been living with my mother at their home because the mother, when our relationship failed, she went back to her people. Now, this boy wants to connect with his father's people because he thinks that's where he will be accepted. That's where his inheritance is. When I met this woman, she actually wept before me and said, "My son, where do I begin from?" I met this boy's father in Gulu town. He was a soldier fighting in South Sudan. Did not introduce me to his people. And we had our time. And this boy is the result of that relationship. The last I remember about his father was when I was called that he died in the war in South Sudan. I did not attend his burial because his body was not brought back home. And nobody from his family knows me. So where do I begin from? My people have accepted my son to come and live here. But his son kept on having conflict with his stepfather because the mother went back and remarried. So that for me is actually the crux of the matter. We still live in a very patriarchal society, and we have many, and I think it's even, the rate is increasing because you have all these girls getting pregnant and giving birth and going back to their homes. So what does that mean for that woman or even the child who is given birth to and it's not staying with the father, and the mother of that child has gone back to her home, her maternal home, not even the home of, you know, the father of that child. So for me, when I hear all this conversation, Honorable Mao talking about how Acholi lived in the past, the ideal, but the reality now is that we have all these young people who have these questions of where do I go? Where do I call home? What is my clan? If I die today, who do I turn to? What is my support system? So you have a group of people who have all this hunger, and literally, and I tell this to my colleagues and people we work with all the time, is that this group of people have nothing to lose. They are not going to hesitate to grab your back, no matter who you are, to harm you so they can eat, just to live another day. Unfortunately, now we have, and we've gone into politics. All these politicians, using young people against their opponents and all that. And for us, it paints a very grim future, because where we have reached is that all these people are saying, for so long, no one has paid attention to us. And now they actually need us. And if you see in Gulu, the rate of arresting young people that was happening even 6 months ago has ceased, because for some reason no one wants to be caught in the crossfire, because these young people who are very hungry, now that hunger is being used to serve a purpose. So for the leaders in the room and those who are doing something, I think we need to reflect and retrospect as a community, but also as a family, because each of these person comes from a family that as a clan leader or an elder who is supposed to be in the life of this young person. Unfortunately, what we see sometimes is that clan leaders also collude with the broader family to send away children that they deem, here they call them Lutiano Lok, or children who are either born out of wedlock or they are growing up at their maternal side of the family, Paneyogi. So it's like you are voiceless. And that, for me, is actually where the problem is, because I don't think we have even seen half of the problems that we would ideally see if this is not addressed now. And I'm glad that Roger Pajo has come in timely. There are people like Mego who does not close a gate, Chairman Mao who has a footpath in front of his home. But individually we can only do so much. We need to get to a point where we look at these people as those who will take after us. And now if you have this person growing up with all this anger while you, an elder, is still alive, what will happen when you are no more? So that, for me, is the bigger question when we talk about identity. Because this person will not even know who their cousin or nephew or niece is, and what will stop them from harming that person when they meet them on the streets, they are going about their business anyhow. So that's the kind of reflection that I want to leave us with, but also those who are watching us from elsewhere. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Chairman Mao, you conclude us for the day.
Thank you, Raymond. The Juba Peace Agreement was a promise. That promise has not yet been fulfilled. I see politicians waving manifestos, but if you are from the areas like Acholi, Lango, and Teso, your real manifesto should be the Juba Peace Agreement. Unfortunately, it is no longer talked about. There are just a handful of people who talk about it. It has all the promises. So we now need to close ranks as leaders across parties, really. This, fortunately, I think in the next parliament, even the next government, is really going to be mixed colors. So it is important to address the real issues. So the question that has to be asked is, who does what? Let's start with the state, because all the politicians are seeking votes in order to influence the policies of the state. Now, you join politics because you want policies that serve your people. And the best government is that government which puts in place policies that serve the people and they act in line with those policies. And the best opposition is that opposition which insists on having good policies put in place and implemented by whichever government is in place. And if that government refuses, then they use their platform as leaders in opposition to push that government to do the right thing or change that government. So either you make the government change their policy to serve the people, And then failing that, you change the government. So far, those of us who have for many years been using the opposition platform have not been able to change the government, but we have been able to influence the government to change policies. I went to parliament. I was elected when I was just about to turn 29. At that time, the policy of the government was to end the war through fighting. And we said, no, we need to talk. We told the government, herding the people into IDP camps is creating a humanitarian crisis. You need to close the camps and have a plan to defend our people from their homes. We proposed that diplomatic relations should be restored with Sudan. After all, you notice that the war really escalated around 2004. And that is when Joseph Kony really rearmed. He got a big boost. So we proposed a diplomatic approach. We proposed a return to multi-party democracy, because war always comes from a political problem. There must be space for people to express themselves. All those proposals were roundly rejected by Parliament. I co-authored a minority report together with the Honorable Mara Tubo. I'm glad that I'm alive today and all those proposals were accepted in my lifetime. Now, the government has 4 main roles: to protect our territorial integrity, so nobody messes with our borders. Number 2, the government has got a duty to protect the life and property of the people. So if somebody comes and grabs your land and the government does not protect you, the government has failed you. We have here those who have been engaged in transactions, the so-called balalo. They come and they make you sign an agreement in English which you don't understand, and they tell you they have bought 100 acres from you, but they write hectare. So in other words, they have stolen an additional 150 acres from you. And when they come with surveyors and you see that the boundaries are bigger than you had imagined, they threaten to take you to court. They can even bring their relatives who are in the army to scare you. It's the role of the government to protect the people, because their most important asset is their land. It's also the duty of the government to put in place good laws. Megubeti Aolo-chan spoke about the Transitional Justice Bill. That was among the first bills announced in 2021. I believe in that bill. It is the answer. It is the way to respond to the plight of the children who we disarmed. We took away their guns, but we never replaced the guns with anything else. So they have now gone into petty crimes. Others have gone into violent crime. We can talk about the skilling centers. We can talk about industrial parks. But we have to do something about them in very practical terms. They need new skills. The only skill they know was to kill, because they have been soldiers. They are ordered to go and attack others. So because of the broken promises, they are now in a derogatory manner referred to as a go, which is really a term which we should discourage. We should have, these are our children. No matter the circumstances in which they were conceived and born, they are our children, and they are innocent, as far as I'm concerned. The government also has a duty to resolve disputes that people have. The so-called patriarchal society, I think, is because the government has become a spectator. Now, speaking as Minister of Justice, I want people to know that the Transitional Justice Bill is not in my docket. It was actually handed to the Ministry of Internal Affairs. have requested the president to transfer it to me. Then I can move it forward. So why has that bill taken long? Because that bill requires truth-telling. It requires talking about things which other people may want to be ashamed, will be ashamed to admit. It will require us to relate our experiences. For instance, during Operation North, in the early days of the NRA. Now, courts have started making decisions. The other day, the court ruled that some people whose land was taken for a camp should be paid. Now, that is something that needs to be discussed. Another court ruling was that the victims of Balonyo need to be paid. So basically it means wherever there was a massacre, those who lost their relatives will have to be paid, and those who got injuries. Now that requires leadership, and it requires open-mindedness. Also, it requires us to think long-term. This is not about a 5-year thing. This is a long-term thing. So I conclude by assuring those who have been waiting for the fulfillment of those promises that we who call ourselves leaders cannot run away from providing solutions. And notwithstanding that, we must also celebrate the milestones we have made. Gulu is the most beautiful city, by far cleaner than Kampala.
After
I know
Fort
Raymond
Portal.
may protest.
After Fort Portal, it's fine.
Well, the last time I was there, I wasn't very impressed. Though I got a wedding gift of 1 acre of land
Yes.
on a hill. So I'm going to have a home in Fort Portal City.
Great.
It's a beautiful city, very well located with well-balanced climate. And we are happy that the people there are Luos. So we are relatives. So Raymond, as a fellow Luo, we are grateful that this is not an accident.
Yes.
Francis Gimara, who has been my advisor for many years on these issues, my unpaid advisor, has always dreamt of Gulu taking its central place as the capital of Northern Uganda. We don't even want people to think of Gulu as an Acholi city. We simply host Gulu, but we really want everybody. We want the best. Whether you are Mutoro, you are Lugbara, you are white like Dr. Koti, come and show your excellence in Gulu. This is the best place. Gulu has 6 exit roads. Unlike any other city, you have 6 exits. We have very fertile lands, and our city is well planned. So these activities that bring money into our local economy are very important. So I congratulate once again the promoters and founders of the Gulu City Marathon, Francis Gimara and friends. We will proudly wear the Gulu City Marathon shirts because it is now a brand. It is one of the few certified marathons in Uganda. I think we only have 2. Yes. We have the Rwenzori Marathon, and then we have the Gulu Marathon. Now, every October we shall be having more beer drunk per capita in Gulu than in any part of Uganda. Yeah. We'll be having the Oktoberfest. Also around Independence, we are going to be having the Rajiv Ruparelia Safari Rally. And Sudhir Ruparelia is going to build a race course in Gulu on about 50 acres of land, and also a housing estate. So, notwithstanding the lamentations that you have had, Gulu is now open for business. And while we talk about the problems, but we must also celebrate the progress that we are making. I mean, even if you go to the best hospital, in one corner there will always be a mortuary. It doesn't mean that people don't die in a hospital, but you celebrate the lives that you save, You celebrate those who come when they are totally unwell, and then they get a new lease of life. That is what this occasion of the City Marathon is about. And we are grateful that Konrad-Adenauer Foundation has brought this conversation here. For us, we have only been catalysts of the conversation. This conversation must continue out there. Thank you, Raymond.
All right. Thank you so much, Chairman. Thank you so much, everyone who's been inside here, my panelists, and to the people who have been outside, who've been watching us. This conversation is available on YouTube, so you can go back and listen to it, as are other conversations, including the ones on Rwenzori. We wish to see you guys on the start line tomorrow. Chairman, are you taking the run? Are you taking on the run tomorrow?
I forgot my running attire.
We can donate.
I will be there.
Yes.
Very briefly. I have some problem with my legs.
Okay. Yes, but yes, we urge everyone who is outside watching to please take part.
At least I have been
in the
running.
marathon, and please to donate to the Gulu City Marathon tent. Please go to the tent and see if you can donate shoes, or to the foundations, and to the production team that's been making this happen. Thank you so much, and to the background cast team that has also been running behind the scenes. Thank you so much to everyone as we bring this conversation to a close.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We provide the content, you add your touch to it before posting. Let's do it.
I told you how things are getting worse for our MP nominee and her family.
This is defamation we are talking about. Find them and promise them hell.